But great question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Emily.
Hi.
In the time in which you were working as a waitress, and the production company, were you still auditioning? And if so, how did you
balance that?
How did you balance auditioning and work, and then also the no's you were receiving? How did you keep going? How did you find it?
Boy, the no's are hard. I just want to throw out some no's over the years. I was told definitely change your, speaking of no's, change your nose maybe because it's a little bigger, whatever. Change your last name because it's a little ethnic. The different times, right? This isn't the way it would work now. Now you could have lawsuits about some of the stuff like that.
I'm sorry, I just have to say it for the record. It's like your defining feature, and so it's like
these things
because
that
people do say stuff like that, and you just have to remember.
To hold on to this
self. And you want to be different. So if your nose is bigger, great.
Yeah,
I know. It's Barbra Streisand's another.
Yeah, back to the
and it doesn't matter. It's just sort of
but people say shit like that. Like there was a particular important TV show that would have changed my life, but my life got changed a million times over, but would have changed it, and I would have probably been a person. A bummer, you guys, about not getting to do New York theater now is that, particularly of my age, which is, there are not a lot of roles for women my age, is you kind of have to have like power that brings in tourists. So I'm having a hard time now because I as a younger person, I didn't find this quite as much, but like for me to be in a show, I have to garner, you know what I'm saying? I have to be like, have been a hit series. Well, I was on one, but like even more name power. So there are a couple times in my life that I almost was that. I almost got that. And sometimes I look back and go like, oh, that would have helped me in worlds like theater and stuff. But one of those moments, which I will leave the TV show nameless for a minute and just say, I was right there and I got a phone call. I'd been given the unofficial, you got the role. And the head of that network, it was, let's leave it out. The head of the network said, she has bones in real life, but not on camera. And I was like, what? And I remember crying, like when Harry Met Sally, Meg Ryan's character, what do you mean? But they didn't find my features strong and beautiful enough for what they needed for a leading lady. And I was testing for other shows on that network, and all the tests got pulled that day. Like, it wasn't even that I wasn't right for just that huge, extraordinary lead that was like, huge, but suddenly I'm not right for any of their shows. And I remember that was like a moment of like, what the fuck? I'm never gonna make it because I don't have bones in camera life. I only have bone. Anyway, it's an asinine comment, right? That you look back on with I'm just thinking about the no, but through those no's, it does make you stronger. I'm like doing this because it makes you feel like, fuck them. You know what I mean? You're gonna get some real barriers. And so you just have to sort of press back and be like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to do my thing my way. I know I say it. I don't really know if I believe it, but I was able to keep putting one foot in front of the other. So I guess I do believe that the no can help. Back to your question about, I think that you have to, not you, all of us in the room have to make money. Yeah, unless you come from money, which I didn't come from that. And so you kind of have to keep balancing those other kinds of jobs. So finding a money job is is equally significant to keeping the artistic life going. And you guys are savvy, and I don't even understand how things like Amazon works, but like, can't you buy things and write about them and make money? Is that like a thing? Or is it just on my Instagram that my son showed me and then he was like, now you're addicted. But like, can't you make money in crazy ways now? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
A lot of Stone Streeters make money, a living in production because they've been
because you've learned how to do it. You can do that. It's exactly right. Huge. You guys have a skill. I didn't have that skill. I only was acting, and that skill was not being needed all the time. But your great question is, I think one has to keep going until one feels like, wow, I've got security enough. And we talked about that outside. Guess what, guys? For the first time, I'm 58. I started to figure out how much money I'm spending per month. What was wrong with me? That it took me like all these decades. And that's something that you guys should be wiser than I've been about. Figure out what's going on with your rent and what your money and your costs and if you're helping other people and all that. and know that stuff better than I did. And if you can't find a person that's smart, if you're not as smart, like I'm not smart about money, find someone to help with a little bit of advice with financial stuff that puts it away a little bit and lets it grow, because building up a retirement right now, you're not thinking about it and you shouldn't, but when you hit my age, you need it. So that's a silly thing to say, but not, you know. So if you have people in your family that are really wise with money, maybe talk to them. Or if you're really wise with money and you're friends with someone who needs some help, talk to them about it. Learn from each other.
It works both ways too. I remember Mike Myers coming in and talking, because he was making a lot of money, and so he thought he didn't have to think about it. And he said he was acting like a child for a long time, and that he really needed to. Well, he got a rude awakening because he realized people were running things in ways that he didn't know.
Oh, I see.
So it doesn't matter.
I see.
You know, I think being an adult, it's really important to be part of that, at least, even if you have other people.
No, I hear what you're saying. You know what? I meant people that aren't charging you money. I know what you're saying. Like, I didn't do the business manager route. Some of my friends, to be honest with you, they just felt like I'm going to hand my money over and my responsibilities over. And that's worked for them. I was way too scared about like a Bernie Madoff story or something. I was like, I don't know how to do that. Sometimes I wish I had had help though with that. But my husband at the time was quite helpful and wonderful. So that was helpful. Thank you for your question.
And if you want to pass it on, who's next? Yeah, behind you.
By the way, maybe amongst yourselves, if you guys all find, and I'm sure in this program, like you're going to have stuff that is going to be people teaching you to manage those parts of your life better than I did. So do that and embrace that and grow with that. Yeah. Sorry, love. Yeah.
My name is Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
I was wondering what part of Connecticut you did your like theater thing in, because I'm from Connecticut and I want to know.
Oh, yeah. I have a big connection to Connecticut now. My son's at Yale, which is unbelievable. So he's in New Haven, which and anyone that tells me New Haven isn't great, that's a bummer. What part are you from?
I'm from Norwalk.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So the Connecticut area I was in was called Waterford, Connecticut. Do you know where that is? And it's on the water. Funny. And it's it was where, again, my life-changing stuff happened. It was beautiful there. And then I spent a semester there, but I went back 3, 4, or 5 times to do shows in New Haven. I did productions at Yale. I was actually attacked on the street in New York when I was in my late 20s, and I was doing Uncle Vanya at Yale Rep, and that's funny because I had to use it. I had this like part of my head that like grew because of the attack, and it's another story we don't need to get into, but I remember thinking, oh, how is this going to work? Because I was doing a production at Yale Rep, and Sonia was the part I was playing, and she's supposed to feel badly about herself. You know, that character is a gorgeous character, and she's like, I'm unhappy, and I had this extra like unicorn head, and I used it because I was like, that's part of who she will be, you know. Anyway, I did like 3 shows at Yale Rep. I did shows at the Long Wharf Theater. And that was all in that area. So I didn't even realize so much of my life was going to be Connecticut. It's a great state. Yeah, absolutely.
It's great to go see theater up there too.
Yes, yes.
You should all go.
You should go.
It's
It's
the
really
original
kind of
theater.
blossoming. Hartford Stage also. I know the woman who runs that. Her name is Amelia Ben Susan. I hope you all work for her. I should get your names and be like, go take her. She's amazing. She does great plays there too. Anyway, sorry. Somebody else. Next. Yeah, hi. Hi.
I'm Julia. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
I was wondering, in terms of like, I guess, what would be your favorite moment, like from your entire career, and if you could sum up like all the things that you've learned and give us just one nugget that you wish you could have known at our age?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. Maybe because it's the most recent one, when I got to work on Maisel, and it was, Amazon hadn't done a whole lot of stuff, so they tend to have a lot of money, which, I mean, not necessarily that we were paid high like that, but they traveled us around the world to kind of like, I never had done stuff like that. I never had been on red carpets and had dresses loaned, which by the way isn't like as it's great, but it's also like an exhausting process, but that's like another story for another day. But that whole packaging part of being involved in something that's very in the zeitgeist popular is really thrilling, partially because you see the world through somebody else's finances. So it's sort of weird, but like they flew us to Europe. I mean, I've been to Europe, but like not like as fancy as all that, you know? And, but that's the kind of like accoutrement that's exciting. What was amazing was that the cast, the family that we were for 6 years, got to be a troupe, a traveling troupe. And we got to actually go into restaurants or take walks or see art or hear music or just like cry with each other or laugh. And so the development of the family that's artistic became the development of the real life family. And you fall in love with them and you watch them have babies and you watch them become grandparents. And so when it ended, it was like, it was like death. And so you asked my favorite moment. I think it's not even the acting I got to do, which I was so fortunate with that role in that show, but it was that I made a family. And what I can say about what you guys are going to do here is you're going to deepen now, and some of you are going to hopefully walk away with a new family, and that's going to happen in your career over and over. So if I have a piece of advice, it's when you hold each other tight, try not to let go and to seek out. We have a woman named Jocelyn DeBeer who did the program years ago, and I asked her recently, I did a little indie with her, and I said, what changed your life kind of, and why did you enter New York? She said, I entered because of Stonestreet, and I developed from there a connection in New York, from there a connection to a group of women doing comedy. From there, that connection is, that group of women continues to travel with each other and do almost like a retreat. And so hold on to the retreat of being with each other forever. So that's my answer.
Thank you. I'm not that old, but it does make me feel like a proud great
to see these kiddos doing it, right?
Yeah. I try to get Jocelyn to go to
Yeah,
LA
she'll
program and talk. I feel like that was a great last question, but
there's one here. She's got a great question. Your question is so good.
No, they have to get back.
Yeah, you have to get back to
one more question.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm
Hi,
Sarah.
sweetie.
I feel like all the time, like, people are telling us to, like, keep creating art and just
Yeah.
keep creating art.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes I get, like, burnt out.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you ever experienced burnout and, like, what you do if and when you experience that.
Yeah. I'm going to say, it's funny, I'm envious of your burnout because the burnout I faced was that balancing act of kid, mommy, family, and work. That was hard because there were times where my heart was like, how could I be possibly missing a graduation, which thank God I didn't. So those were the most trying moments, with tears coming down and going like, what have I done to choose something that requires of me to leave what I love at times to do the work? Because there are professions in the world where that's not as much the case, right? So that's a little different than your question. That might be the biggest challenge for me of choosing to be an actor, is that nobody told me, this can almost make me cry, but I'm not going to. Nobody told me the amount of sacrifices that you were gonna have to make. So now back to your burnout question. I think you guys are doing stuff that's so different than what I did, because even the nature of you like going to different classes and figuring out how you work together, and as you said, having the expertise of dealing with cameras and all that, your brains must be, if we like coded the brain, mine was just like a straight shot of like pink. I'm an actress in pink or something, right? You guys have like rainbows happening inside you, because it's like popcorn rainbows. It's like, I'm thinking of what are those things, the machines that go pinball machine? Pinball, popcorn, firework, because it sounds like they're encouraging you through this kind of a program to be like, at all times, make sure, not at all times, but that you can keep all the possibilities open. And that must be hard, because there must be part of you too that wants to say like, I don't want to have to do all the possibilities. Like I have a girlfriend that's a director, producer, runs a company, and she's an actress, when she gets to act, she goes, that is the easiest thing in the world. All I have to do is show up and have my lines and say them. All the other stuff is so hard. Now, she also feels like, I'm so glad I didn't just act, because then I would just sit and wait. But it's interesting, your question is great, because you're taught now to be like exercises who are like triathletes, right? And you must have moments where you're like, can't I just swim? And can't I just like dog paddle even, right? But I guess the one thing to say is take time for yourself. Take time for a walk. Take time to hold the persons you love. Animals changed my life. A doggy is so good, or a kitty, or a rat, or whatever you fit. I had a lot of rats in New York in my apartment. They weren't so great. But the stuff that's the away from the work stuff, embrace it. That's why when I had my boy, I was like, nobody told me anything could be this good, because he needs me, and he needs me to be away from the rest. And I just held him, and I was like, this is the best thing. So I encourage you to have kids, if you can. I encourage you to have animals if you don't have kids. I encourage you to meditate, or to just be good about walks, but to listen to yourself when you're feeling overwhelmed, and know that the best work probably can't come out of that exhaustion, but that sometimes in those moments of crazy exhaustion, also, on the flip side, the greatest moments of creative life come to. So sorry, that's a little bit of both sides work.
No, but it's
true.
amazing. Well, I hope this is to be continued.
Yeah, I want to see you guys more, and hopefully
maybe we'll have more.
Yeah, maybe I'll come
opportunities.
back, but also mostly you guys, if you through you, if you get phone numbers, so I'm happy to give that stuff out. I've been a person in my life that really gets fueled by people's questions. I'm sorry there wasn't more time. I rambled a little bit, didn't I?
No,
Sorry.
you did not. You were supposed to do.
Okay, I rambled. It was good. But seriously, like, if you have some important question like, oh, I'm going to meet an agent, and Marin said that it would be okay to talk to her, write me, and inevitably I'll know. Maybe I'll know, like, guess what? That agent is, or that agent is, So basically, I love helping out with that, and I mean that. And if you come to LA, which is where I'm based these days, look me up, and I'll tell you, we'll go out for coffee, or we'll take a walk, or you can hang out with my dog.
Marin?
Yeah.
It's Marin.
Marin, yeah. But Mom,
So,
just call me Mom.
Because I'm also Elisa.
And people probably say
everybody says
Alicia,
Alyssa, and I
Alicia.
don't.
Right,
So,
right. I don't
want to say
care.
Marin.
It's Marin.
Marin, thank you
You're
so
so-
much
you're so
for your
welcome.
generosity.
Oh, you guys are
of
so
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, you guys.
Amazing question.
I was so nervous, but I'm glad my nerves fueled something, I hope,
It was great.
Are you guys then here for the summer? Is that how long it lasts? So it's like a 3-month or 2-month or
Some
1
people
month?
are here for 6, and then some for a double, or
Yep.
sometimes people come back in the fall,
Great.
right? Or they come back next year.
How many people are not New Yorkers? This is like a visiting New York thing. Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean. I mean, sorry, what I mean is you're here just for this. How many people are going to land in New York now, and this is where you are? Like everybody, pretty much? Oh, no, only some. Okay, got it. And are some of you guys thinking about Los Angeles? Yeah. That's a big. We didn't get to that. That's a big question. That's a hard one for another time. But it's a big issue because the worlds are so different. Like just even car stuff. Like you're going to have a more quiet life in LA inevitably because here, the combustiveness of walking out on the street, you can see each other, subways, it's more accessible. But LA is a place with probably sometimes more TV and film options that are the big ones. But on the other hand, you guys are make your own stuff. So if you got cast in something LA, you'll fly out and make it work. So I started in New York. I felt like that was a great choice. And then once I was a mom, it felt like the quieter life out there was okay. But I know people who've gone to LA sometimes without a community, they feel like it's lonelier. I've heard.
That is why we do this residency out there. So there's a 4-week program because I'd like to get
to talk to those guys too.
to talk to those guys and maybe work more regularly with them. But it is nice. That's a big thing, and I think we've tried to change that. I don't know if you guys know about the LA residency, but if you've done Stonestreet, you can do it. And so you have a bit of a background buff for you because it's very different. But it allows you to kind of find a community.
Yeah, that's the most important.
First of all, so that's what we do and go work. We go do projects, and then we introduce them to agents and casting people. But in LA, it's very verboten for casting directors and agents to meet people in any kind of situation that some people have lost their licenses.
Really?
It's been a big deal. It's
didn't
not
know
like New
that.
York here. And so because they know Stonestreet's New York, Monique and Deb was the LA manager. Monique and Deb have been able to. They
So
meet
it's a little
they meet
easier in
four
New York
agents
to
and
do-
casting people in a week, and they actually start to to break
Okay.
that down. But then forget that stuff.
Yeah.
You then go and work on. You're on set. And
I
you're
see.
working, so it's like you don't really need them so much.
I
I'm
see.
working,
I see.
and that kind of position is very nice for an actor.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be like, yeah, oh, I'm meeting agents, and we're in the middle of shooting a project right outside the prison, and we're now shooting, and it gets you to kind of know LA. Because, like
Yeah,
you say,
that's
it's
great.
so. I'm a
Yeah.
New
It's
Yorker.
so spread out. It's so
and
spread
I was
out
so
there.
intimidated by LA initially.
Yeah.
Um,
But but if you're a
same
person who
reason.
loves the outdoors, like there's nothing to.
It's beautiful.
It's extraordinary there. You
Yeah.
can get to the beaches and you can get to the mountains so quickly, and that's the good place. Back to your beautiful question, you can take a break that in an easier way. I think it's harder in New York to take breaks sometimes. Central Park.
Or you can
Riverside.
just be bi-coastal. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, someone told me the most cool thing the other day. The thing I worked with this woman, Jocelyn, who'd been here, this beautiful actress I loved, who's also a director and a writer. And she said to me that when she was living in New York with very little money, she and her husband, boyfriend at the time, maybe you guys do this already. They made plans to do, at the time, it was like under $18 nights, date nights. And so they basically found ways to treat each other to places and ways to have a great time for very little money. And I was like, why didn't I know about that when I was young? That's like such a great plan, isn't it? So you find all the cool ways to not spend money and you create like almost like a competition with each other. Enjoy.
It's like homeschooling.
Yeah. It was great.
Homeschooling yourself.
Yeah.
Anyway, so to be continued.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Thanks, you
thank you
guys.
again.
Thank you.